Hey, how's
Josh.
it going,
Good
man?
to see you, man.
Good to see ya. Thanks for coming to our Halloween
Of course.
thing.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, come on in.
All right, so Mike, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This is our first interview for our Halloween special 2018.
Our spooky Halloween special.
Spooky. We have some special magic in store for later in the show. Isn't that right, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been reading some books.
Yeah, and Google. So, Mike, I don't know. Where have people seen you on YouTube? Probably a little bit on the cool stuff.
The Hamilton
hunting.
Football League, if that's up there.
Hamilton Football League's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam's been seen on that as well.
Yep.
We'll see Sam later in our show. But what do you do, Mike, outside of appearing on YouTube randomly on certain episodes?
I work in finance for a government contractor, actually. So I crunch numbers all day.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Halloween on this episode.
What
Growing
makes
up-
Halloween for you?
Yeah, growing up, what made Halloween special?
Man, I'm old school. When I was growing up, we did the whole trick-or-treating thing. I feel like nowadays, you look outside Halloween night, there's no kids out there.
That is true.
I
It
mean-
seems less and less.
I've been in my apartment for about a year and a half, and I don't see anyone out on the streets. I'm like, when I was growing up, to answer your question, costume, I remember my very first costume when I was 5 or 6. I was Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
costumes and candy is immediately what I
think
picture
of, yeah.
Halloween as.
I mean, that's what I think of. What about you, Josh?
Me, costumes, candy,
Yeah.
scary movies.
Maybe some
Scaring
eggs
people.
at some houses.
Yeah. Doing some
Silly
pranks
string.
and
Yeah.
toilet paper.
You know what was good actually was filling up socks with like powder or sugar, making them heavy,
And then
and just
you-
whipping them around. That was always a good time too.
So, Halloween traditions, obviously, for you were costume and candy. Was there anything else that kind of like set the mood going into Halloween for you?
My parents were always big on the decorations, outdoor decorations. You pull up the street, and you see the orange lights. You have, a witch here and a skeleton there. My dad actually started doing this thing where he would take his clothes and stuff it with hay, and he would sit it like on this chair on the porch, and it was pretty cool. We'd carve pumpkins, put the pumpkin head on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Doing
Yeah.
scarecrows.
Doing
Yeah,
the
pretty much.
scarecrow
Yeah.
thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So I think nowadays, I mean, how would we think of Halloween if we were today's generation?
Today's generation, I don't know. I think Halloween's a lot different these days.
Yeah, it is.
I feel like there's got to be an app now where you're like this virtual person.
Trick or treating.
And you walk
Virtual
up to these
trick-or-treat.
houses and you like trick or treat and you get like all these weird treats and then you can like
Virtual candy.
trade them in for stuff. I don't
Got
know.
3 coins from this house.
Yeah.
So, definitely for like me and Josh and Johnny, when we were setting up this thing, our special, we were talking about like the Halloween kind of feel, the movies, the music, that kind of stuff. Is there any music or Halloween movies or movies that kind of set the stage for Halloween for you?
I'm gonna go with the classic Friday the 13th.
All right.
I think that's been my all-time favorite Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with the new Halloween movie out now.
Have you seen the new Halloween?
I want to, but I have not seen it yet.
So
Have you
good.
guys seen it?
Yeah.
Josh and Johnny have. I have not.
I
It's
want
very
to.
good.
I guess maybe again.
Yeah?
All right, so maybe we'll go see it and do a review on it or something.
Yeah. I'm down.
So what about Friday the 13th makes it like your Halloween movie?
I just like how it's got that like scary feel to it. 'Cause that's what the holiday is all about, right? You dress up. It's supposed to be like a like a darker theme almost, and I don't know, I've just always enjoyed it. It's a good movie when you've been out trick-or-treating as you're growing up, drinking a little bit, and then you come home and you watch a scary movie. They're on Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, that totally makes sense. So, growing up, did you, or your parents, or did you hear any, like, spooky stories that kind of creeped you out? It doesn't have to be ghost-related. It can be animals or anything like that just kind of creeped you out a little bit.
The only one that really comes to mind is the whole boogeyman thing. When I was growing up, my dad would always try to freak us out when we were younger, and he explained the boogeyman story a couple of times, and I definitely remember being scared for a couple of years about that guy. And I don't know, it just added to the excitement of going out at night, being like, I'm gonna go trick-or-treating. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. Am I gonna encounter the boogeyman? You know, it just like adds to the whole feeling of the holiday.
So nowadays, I mean, you went ghost hunting with me once. I think the most scary thing you encountered was a negative 10-degree cold.
God, that was so cold, man. The wind was blowing. I'm pretty sure you told me to bring multiple layers to wear. And I was like, yeah, whatever, Keegan. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. And we get out to, like, this empty dirt field, and I'm just sitting there. No hat, like, one jacket on, maybe even shorts. No gloves. And I was like, this sucks.
Someone that night was laying in the dirt with a blanket.
I don't remember. I do remember being out to, like, super late.
That was Third Bridge.
And we stopped at Jack in the Box, I think, or Taco Bell or something.
Del Taco. Del Taco's our local ghost hunting hookup. We go there, we get some tacos, we go ghost hunting.
We were the only people there.
Yeah, they looked
It was nice. We walked strange. In. Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, you went ghost hunting. Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Does that thing, like, interest you? Do you watch ghost hunting shows, or?
You know, I used to watch pretty consistently, I forget the name of it now, but I think it's called Ghost Hunters. Zach, is it Zach?
Oh,
it
Ghost Adventures.
Ghost Adventures, yeah.
Zach
I used to watch that one pretty consistently. I definitely believe in paranormal activity. I don't have necessarily the interest that you guys have in, like, going out and exploring it. I think it's something I just grew up believing in. Like, there's always people that are going to say, oh, it's a conspiracy, and, you know, it's fake news, like, none of this is real, but the way it's portrayed on TV and videos, like, it could seem pretty real at times. Sometimes it seems staged, but I don't know, it's something I've always believed in.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really experienced everything firsthand, but...
There's enough for you to kind of, like, say, I could see that.
Right.
Yeah. So, outside of joining us tonight, what are your Halloween plans for the rest of the evening?
Halloween plans? Wow. Gonna go to a party, I think. Get a little drink on. Probably not gonna do the whole trick-or-treating thing. I think I'm past that age, unfortunately. As much as I love my candy.
I think if we dress up, people might let us.
They probably would. They would just think we're, like, super deep-voiced, tall teenagers. Like, yeah, give us candy.
Hello, I'd like some candy.
Exactly.
Just walk up. I'd like your finest Reese's peanut butter cup.
Right.
I always go as, like, as Buffalo Bill in, like, a skin suit. And I like some candy. Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I used to always hate the neighbors that would give you, like,
raisins.
Like mints or,
like
raisins.
Snacks.
It's like, I'd rather you give me an apple with a fucking razor in it than a thing of raisins.
So,
like, no one's going to eat that.
So growing up, I remember, like, early on, it was, like, pretty normal. Everyone would give you candy. And then I remember, like, this one section of the neighborhood became super anti-Halloween. Like, you walk over there in your costume and they'd yell at you.
What?
They're like, get the hell away from my house. This is the demon stuff. And I'm like, the devil's worship. And I'm like, for one, you don't even know what the devil is, because the devil and Satan are two different people. So you're talking about two different things and you think you're talking about one. Did you have that?
No, I never had that. But I was the jerk on the other end, though, who would walk up to a house, right? It's me and my two buddies. We're like, this is great. It's Halloween. I'll walk up to a house and you have the bowl, right? Bowl of candy.
And you take the ball.
And you have a sign on there, please take one, because they're probably not home. They're out at a friend's house or whatever. And yeah, you split it down the middle here, half for you, and we're out.
One-stop shop.
Exactly. You get a full night's of Halloween candy in one stop.
Right.
You're gonna get the same stuff, but hey.
And then there was like that rare house that everyone knew about because they gave out like
the king
giant
size
chocolate bars.
Oh,
yeah.
Something that I've realized in the last Halloweens, kids these days are like super taught to only take one piece of candy.
Are they?
Yeah, I never see kids like going for like 2 pieces, like snag 2 pieces. They're always like 1 piece, and I'm like, just reach in,
right?
Just grab a handful, man.
Yeah.
Just fill your bag.
I don't need this much candy.
I feel like it's almost tradition growing up to just like go in, take a handful,
right.
Put it in your
It's
pillowcase.
not these days. It's very polite of the children. It's very polite for them to just take 1 piece of candy. But
no, they're suckers.
I just want to be like, I just like grab another handful and throw it in their bag, and I'm like, go for it.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Josh, you want to try that?
So I have been looking up some really cool stuff.
No. We're not doing any shit right now.
It's fine. You'll be fine. It's really cool. You
it's
know,
safe.
Am I gonna get hurt?
No.
I mean, according to
think so.
YouTube,
That's a yes.
There's a 50% fail rate.
So what happens if you fail?
You die.
Okay, see you guys.
No. You guys stay here. We gotta try this.
All right.
So clear your mind.
Think of scary thoughts.
Yeah.
I can't clear my mind and think of scary thoughts. It's one or the other here, guys.
Clear mind of all happy thoughts and think.
I don't want to go to a dark place.
Okay. Think of your happy place. The Cowboys just won the Super Bowl. The Yankees are gonna win the World Series. This is a good year for you.
Okay.
Think of
Happy
that.
place.
Think of that.
I'm there.
Ooh.
I don't like this.
It works! Yes! YouTube tutorials, bro. YouTube tutorials.
I'm in a loss of words right now.
I
To be fair though, where did we send Mike?
It just said send people back.
Do you know how to get him back?
I just figured you just do the thing again. It's fine. We got other people to bring here. I'm sure I'm sure they'll all end up in the same place and we'll figure it out.
You thinking who I'm thinking?
I'm thinking of who you're thinking of.
Ready? Alright, and summoned here today is
Sam Vander Meulen.
Alright, Sam. So they might know you from Culz Paranormal. Also from Hamilton Football League. There's a couple of videos out about that. What else do you do?
I work for a company that builds custom furniture for 911 operation centers. Well, desks, I should say. But other than that, I play video games and I'm out at my friends' concerts, which you guys should all check them out. Rum and Monkey, and then the other band is Strange Matter. They have music on SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube.
Alright.
Sounds good.
So, do you know why we summoned you here tonight?
I'm assuming with all the festivities, Halloween related.
That is correct.
I was going for Easter, but
I was really hoping
Close.
it was more
Yeah,
like,
close. Same thing, right?
I don't know. Leif Erikson Day was what I was
Leif
thinking.
Erikson Day.
Yeah.
Hinga-dinga-durgan.
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 Alright. So, obviously it's Halloween. Sam, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do for Halloween? Like your traditions or anything like that?
I mean, we don't have very big traditions, but I like to dress up and sometimes create haunted houses. Haven't done it for a while, but me and my cousin, when we were younger, used to make haunted houses that we would try and scare people that would come trick or treat. We kind of had to bring him up in there because he used to live in a cul-de-sac. So we had to make signs that said like haunted house this way.
The candy is this way.
Yeah. Not many people came though.
But the few, they were terrified. They were queasy.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you can see from some of these decorations we got up, you got some Halloween type movies. Is there any movies that really set that kind of, mood of Halloween for you?
When I was younger, and still to this day, I've been big on the movies of Halloween Town 1 and 2, and then also Bewitched, which is obviously a big one. Oh wait, no, Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, definitely Hocus Pocus.
Oh yeah.
I think Bewitched is an artist group.
I think it's a TV show.
Bewitched?
I don't even know.
Bewitched was a TV sitcom.
Yeah.
No.
There was also a pop group called Bewitched.
It was also pop.
All right.
named
We got a
Bewitched.
fact check already.
Fact check. Fact checked with the fact checker.
factual. But it was just B***witched. And it was 4 Irish girls or something.
I did not.
There were originals.
So, what is it about these movies that you enjoy around Halloween? Is it just kind of...
And they are very kid movies-esque, but like kind of the horror / spookiness and all the kind of non-normal stuff involved with it. It's all kind of like dark and very magical, and some of them, magical because of like witches and whatnot, and all their potions and cauldrons.
It really has. I really like the Halloween Town series too, but they really have like that whole like vibe of Halloween.
Mhm.
I think.
They got it. They did it well.
Yeah.
Even being an old movie.
Oh yeah.
Classic.
But
Classic.
Halloween classic. Rated by Sam.
Yep.
So outside of Halloween movies and stuff, growing up, did your family ever tell you like spooky stories? It doesn't have to be like ghost related. It can be anything, cryptids, wild animals, people, anything like that.
Nope. I mean, not my family, but like me and my cousin would always look up like cryptids and ghost stuff and all of that nature because we were just kind of curious on it and wanted to know it and just understand it.
I remember. I don't know what the book was, but it had like cryptids in it, and like on the cover, I think it was Mothman. I don't remember what that book was.
Man.
Yeah.
And it was like a field guide.
Yeah, it was like
To the
it was like
cryptids,
a
yeah.
little like soft paperback book. It was.
I know what you're talking
You know
about.
what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah.
All right, so commenters, if you know
If
the
what that
title,
book is.
post it down below in the comments.
I want to say that it was just called Cryptids or something like
Or a
that.
field guide to cryptids, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So, talking about ghosts and stuff, ghost hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got some expertise in on that.
Yeah.
There's one experience I think that sticks out, to me at least, with the three of us
Oh, yeah.
over at Brenden Ridge. Do you want to talk about that? And then we can each kind of give our different takes since it was just the three of us.
Yeah, that was a very interesting night because we all met up. I'm pretty sure that was the night that like I was a little bit later than you guys, and I met over in the parking lot of Brenden Ridge, opposed from at South where you guys were. But we all like met up at like one point, and then we were heading down the trail, which was like along south by like the creek. And as we were going through this trail, there was just like a rustling from the bushes, and we just heard something like come like right by us. It was like right in front of me, or no, it was behind me, but like in front of I think Josh.
It was behind me.
It was behind you.
I think it was behind all of us.
Yeah, it was behind all of us, but
And-
there was like a rustling in the bushes. Something like went by, And we all like turned around and looked at it, but like the leaves were moving, but there was nothing there on either side. And with how quick we turned, we would have been able to see something if it was there.
I mean, I started turning. I mean, at least for me, I remember as we'd walk, we'd hear something matching our pace.
I mean, that was the whole night.
Yeah, we'd hear it matching our pace. We'd stop, it would stop. And then we go, it would go. And it was kind of getting concerning because we're in the woods. There were mountain lions up there. And I think that's what was going through my head more than a ghost. I was like, man, we're going to get attacked. And then as soon as you heard something like charge,
Yeah.
I mean, it came barreling down.
Yeah.
I remember I jumped, and then I just remember as I jumped, you could see the leaves move in front of me, but nothing came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we didn't die.
The other thing that was really weird about it, I mean, it's possible it could have been something, but the circumstances of it are so weird because there's a hill to our left, and the hill is like
It was to the right.
it's was it to the right?
Yeah,
Well, there's a little
the creek
hill
was
to the
on
left, and then the creek to the right.
No, we were heading east along the trail, and like the hill was to the right of us, and that like slope towards the creek was to the left. I remember this very specifically because we were going down that one part that was like kind of like curved. So we were like walking down it and like heading down that one part just before it became the opening to where it like wrapped back up and around and more into Memons. So we were like right along the side.
Yeah. But the hill is like
Pretty steep.
it's really steep. It's got to be like an 85-degree angle.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, if something was agile enough to get down there, sure. But I don't. The way it sounded, the heavy steps, the
Heavy steps.
how loud it was coming
Plus
through there.
there was no dust. It's very
Yeah.
dusty from the loose dirt
It's
and
all
stuff.
dirt trails. It was the middle of the summertime. Everything was
Very
dry. So we feel like we would have seen a lot more signs than just tumbling down the side of the hill.
And the leaves that were shaking were like pretty high off the ground to where like it was bigger than a mountain lion unless it was a giant mountain lion, and even then we still would have been able to see something.
Yeah.
Like at least a tail at the end of like it whipping by.
Something that's weird about this, and it's something I think I just thought of right now. I mean, we've known the facts. John B. Mimon's son drowned in the creek. I wonder if that was just like a residual event. Like it was him running down as a kid and that's where he died. And he fell or something there.
But I
Maybe.
thought he drowned more towards like the bridge area, and that was kind of farther from the
I
bridge.
don't know if it was the bridge. So the story behind the bridge, and we can cut to any footage you want right now because we shot some footage
Yeah.
there to show you guys. But the story behind the bridge is that if you go up there late at night and you're quiet, you'll hear kids. Because the urban legend is some guy took a bunch of kids up there and one day they all burned to death. I have not found this, and we've dug through a history center. That's something Castle Rock's really good for, actually. And for all the historical events, you'd think a bunch like 20 kids dying in a fire with a guy up in Memory Ridge, there'd be some newspaper article or something about it, and we haven't found anything.
Unless they're trying to keep it on the DL.
Yeah, but my theory with the whole bridge thing is it's so close to the apartments and houses. If you're super quiet, you're hearing just,
Kids
pollution from them. Yeah, the sounds
Yeah.
from them. But that doesn't say, Memory Ridge, we've had some weird experiences.
Oh yeah.
We've had that one. I've had the Lawrence experience,
Mm-hmm.
which we can cut to that video if you want.
We had that other one the last time we were there
Mm-hmm.
with like Matt, that like we were walking,
And something followed us again.
something followed us, and we like saw something following us, like literally physically saw it with our own eyes. Like Keegan saw it when he turned around, he saw something that wasn't like one of us, like in the bushes.
Mm.
And then when me and Matt were in the back, we heard something like kind of again charge up on us, but once we turned around they would stop. And then it stopped following us after we passed this like kind of tree opening right next to the townhouses right over there.
It's like it's almost stuck to a certain area. Like something is holding it there. And that night, I remember...
Like a barrier.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It started kind of early on. It was past where we had our experience.
Yeah, it was definitely past that. It was up
but I
by,
remember,
the
like,
burning of
Matt...
the Ouija board area.
Almost. It wasn't quite there yet.
It wasn't
Because
quite
remember,
there,
we
but
were
that's when it
still
kinda picked up a little
going
bit
to
more.
the Ouija part when we stopped because Matt heard a noise in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And so Matt and Blake were looking up there. And Andrew was kind of in the distance, and he was following something else. Like, he heard another noise, like it was trying to split us up.
It was.
And yeah, once we got to the Ouija place, there wasn't anything really definitive
It
there.
was really quiet there.
It was,
Apart from the rest of it.
yeah, super quiet. But it was on the way back where you
It picked
felt
up
it.
again.
Like that fight or flight instinct, and you feel something on the back of your neck.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt kept stopping. He was like, something's following us. Which I was like, well, that sounds familiar now. And at one point, I turned just to look at him. Not even looking for anything, just to, be like, hey, Matt. And as I turned around, we were in this part where, like, if the brush is like this and then the trail just barely cuts through it, Matt had cut through it so I could see him, but I could still see some of the opening. And when I looked back, there was a dark figure there. And it didn't have any features. It was pretty big. And it just kind of moved off into the other side. And that's when I was like, oh. And we all started paying more attention. But yeah, as soon as we kind of got past that opening, there wasn't anything. And honestly, I think that's something that happens often up there, is that noise of something creeping on you.
Yeah.
Because when I filmed, what was it, Culz Tours Memon Ridge, or I was talking about the history of Memon Ridge.
Yeah.
I was just sitting on a park bench and I kept hearing something like approaching me. So I don't know. Josh and I, we went up there for an Ouija board. And
Yeah. We had some. Are you talking about the first time or the second time?
What do you mean? We can talk.
Well, because the first time we went on the behest of a client.
Yeah.
The second time we went is the footage that we've been using throughout this.
No, the first time.
The first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the second time.
I mean, the first time it was weird, especially the situation they were in. They were very upset, very disturbed by the whole situation. Kids had gone up there, played with the Ouija board, and possibly summoned something onto themselves. And then they destroyed the Ouija board without saying goodbye. You know, the rules that you gotta follow when doing one.
They burnt it.
Yeah. And then they buried it in the ground.
In the spot where they were doing it.
And so we had to go get it. And Keegan had a lot of issues after that because he took it with him.
Well, I took it because the kids kept saying they felt drawn back to it. And they would, like, sleep drive to it. Or they'd have all these bad nightmares. And
One of the girls, she went missing.
yeah, she was missing when we did the investigation.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was in the best interest to remove that from the situation. Because I know the kids, when we were there with their mom and everything, they were like, we're not going to go dig it up. We're done with it. But
Their mom was
they were
very,
going to go
very
back.
upset and was very
Worried
for their safety
Yeah.
the whole
and
time.
So I took it. I put it in my yellow car. And I was like, I had no problems in that car before that. And as soon as I went in there, like, the whole car died.
Yeah.
Like, total everything. It just totaled it.
Yeah.
And I kind of just, I didn't think much of it. I didn't really connect it to the Ouija. I did take the Ouija board out. Though at that point, I was like, I don't know, that's kind of weird. But then I had to put it in my Subaru when I got my Subaru. And the moment I put it in, that car died. And so now that Ouija board is in a safe spot.
A secret spot.
Secret spot, only Alan and I know about it, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, I mean, talking about something weird. And is there something bad up there? Maybe they've attached something there. The Lawrence spirit that I came across in 2008 didn't seem bad.
Yeah.
It was a weird set of coincidences and stuff like that, but well, didn't we? I'm trying to think. Wasn't there the thing we saw near the hanging tree? Or was that Colin?
I'm thinking that must be Colin because I don't recall.
I remember near the hanging tree, he knew, which the hanging tree is a tree that they used to hang people on during the Wild Wild West. I do not believe it's the same one that was attached to the body that they pulled the skeleton from, put in Cantrell, and then Cantrell burned down.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's the same one. But it is a hanging tree in Castle Rock. But I remember Colin, we were walking in the forest one night, investigating up there, and there was like a cat-like creature. It didn't look like a normal cat, and it just disappeared into the tree. And it was kind of weird. But yeah, so the footage, obviously, we've kind of shot
Yeah.
that night. Super cold.
Very cold.
Main takeaway was we were cold.
Yeah. It was a late evening out into the woods in the freezing cold.
Yeah, Colorado was much colder back last week when we filmed that part.
Yeah.
It's much warmer now.
Yeah. Our weather's been all over the place, but
Yeah.
hopefully it's a nice Halloween
Yeah.
for everyone out
All the
there.
kids can go trick or treating. You guys can enjoy your Halloween parties. Get home safe though.
Yes.
5 feet of snow.
Stay out late, but be safe.
Yeah.
Or don't stay out late. Still be safe.
Just be safe.
Just be safe. Safety's a good thing.
Don't do a Ouija boards if you cannot handle the consequences.
Or at least look up on it and how to
Protect
close it
yourself.
before
Yeah.
when you're
Research is key. Research is your best protection.
Bogart all your candy. Your parents want your candy.
done. Yeah, they do.
So, the only spot I know felt weird. And I mean, I guess we did hear noises a couple times, but nothing too concrete. But I know that opening where, if you go up, that's where we saw Lawrence, and that's where the hanging tree is, felt very bad. And I felt drawn to it, but in a bad way. Like, if I went up there, something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, something was there waiting.
Yeah, you get that feeling.
Yeah.
You got that feeling when we went up on our little excursion in the cold,
Mhm.
too. We all had bad feelings about being up there.
And just in that area.
Yeah.
And it's just a little opening, and it's been off and on, but ever since the Ouija board investigation, I think it's more of a bad feeling up there.
Yeah.
Like it's tainted.
I mean, because it has been.
And this is why we don't investigate at cemeteries.
Yes.
Not only are you disturbing and not being respectful, but you can trap spirits there, and you can bring upon bad spirits there.
Yeah.
Speaking of spirits, Sam, have you had any other crazy experiences during investigations that we've been on? I know we had one recently that was pretty creepy.
The one at Third Bridge.
Yeah, Third Bridge. I was thinking of your cousin's house, though.
Oh, my cousin's house as well. Third Bridge is the more recent one, though. But yeah, there was one at my cousin's house that was real weird. Like, that house has always had, from what my cousin's brother would always say, is been a little, like, off. I mean, it was built in, like, 89, wasn't it?
1889, something like that, yeah.
But, like, my cousin's brother first told us about him being home alone. He had, like, 2 other roommates in the house, and while he was there by himself, he was in the laundry room, and he saw this shadow walk out of one of his roommates' rooms and then go into the kitchen, and then go downstairs. And then that roommate came home, and he was just like, wait, didn't you just go downstairs? And it freaked him out. But then my cousin moved in there, and he was living there by himself, so he would always hear lots of weird noises. In his bedroom, he would hear like 3 knocks on the wall, like at a certain time of the night, every night. But we went over there to investigate, and we found this one room to be very interesting, which was the room of the roommate that had the figure walk out of. So it was in like the western corner of the house, west north corner of the house, and it just felt very...
I think it felt like you were walking into water that was electrified.
Or just straight electricity.
It
was
was
just very...
weird.
Yeah.
It was like warm, but like also very like staticky. It's like that static feeling when you like... I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like something you would
like
feel,
all the
but you
hairs on your
can't.
body
Yeah.
stand
Just
up.
like stand
And
up.
you get like
but
these
also,
pulses through you.
Yeah.
I just remember because like Adam
Like a shock.
and I forget who went with Adam, but they were back in that corner. And Adam comes out and he's like, go in that room. I was like, do you see something? He's just like, go in there. And then come back and tell me. So I didn't know what I was walking into, and I went in there, and as soon as you get past that doorway, it was like, yeah, walking into electricity. And I was like, whoa. And I came out and told him, and I remember that's when we were like, all right, let's try to draw this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's mimicking people and this and that, it doesn't sound like a good spirit.
Yeah.
True.
So we went in that room, and I sat in this corner. Adam stood in that corner.
Towards like the window.
Yeah.
More towards the west.
He was talking, and that way I could record the whole room, and I could see everything that way. Everything was covered.
Yeah.
And that's when...
Andrew was in like the room, like back from it. So like the room is like basically like this. There was a door on like this side of the room, and then there was a door kind of like at the caddy corner. So like the doors were like this, and down here was like a music room that like my cousin used right before the laundry room. And so Andrew was in the music room. I was in the living room with my cousin, and it was just me and my cousin in that room. My cousin was like just sitting in a chair, and I was just sitting there watching him, but like also listening to them holding... I didn't have the EVP. I don't think I had like
The
maybe
EVP
one
was
camera
sitting
in,
by
like,
itself in
center.
the room.
Yeah.
And Adam was just going through the questions. And he said, well, make your presence known. Are you afraid of us? And then...
No, he said,
Well, then you got to the part, something about...
like, what did he say that like triggered it? Oh wait, like,
Don't you want to talk to us? Or we don't want to talk to you, or something like that.
no,
And
it
then...
was something to trigger what happened with Nick. He was just like say something to us or something. It was like something about like trying to get it to talk to us, and then all of my cousin was just like,
Start clicking.
yeah, my cousin, yeah, he started to do like this weird thing where like he had his hands like this, and like his head would start going like this, and he was making this like, and then he was just like, I am here. And then he was just like, I thought we are friends, like come out here, like everybody come here. And then he asked everybody to turn off all the cameras and stop recording everything. And like I was just holding my hands like this, just like holding it like this, and he was just like, are you recording something? And like literally like was just checking and make sure that I wasn't recording anything. And like he wanted everybody to just stop recording at that point.
And I remember the whole time we were super like confused what was going on. But at the same time I was like, well, we have the EVP still going in the other room. And so I was like, we'll figure out whatever's going on. At least on that, we'll catch something. Like, I was certain we were going to catch something. I remember when we finally were able to leave, because then it was like, we couldn't leave.
Yeah.
He was like, no, you have to stay here. You have to stay in the house. I'm like, oh, okay. And
Yeah, it
then
got
once we finally left, I was like, I'm going to listen to the EVP because I'm like, I know something's on there for a fact. And I turned it on, and everything was erased. Everything. And no one had gone in there. No one had touched it.
Yeah.
I was so sad because it had investigations we hadn't even gone through yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, Third Bridge, that
That
incident.
was a weird one.
We had a couple nights. We had Jason with us one of the nights. Dustin. Did Preston go with us to that one? No, he went to Garden of the Gods.
Yeah, he went to Garden.
Dustin, when he came, I think is when it kind of fed off of him, his energy.
Oh yeah,
Because he
fear.
was super scared.
He was so scared, and so
Yeah.
things were just happening.
And
Who
yeah,
were we
under
with?
the.
It was me, you, someone else.
Well, it was you, me, Dustin, and
No, we were under the bridge.
I think that was
Said no.
Jason then.
It might
Night
have been
one was with
Jason's.
Jason. But we went under the bridge and it felt really warm. And that was a cold night.
It was-
Kiowa's really flat and open. There's not a lot protecting you from the wind.
Mm-mm.
So it was really cold, but we went under the bridge.
It was
And
pretty hot.
It was like walking into an oven.
Really?
And there,
An oven
yeah.
or like, yeah.
And
There
there's
was like a
demonic
oven.
writings on the wall.
There's a lot of weird stuff.
And so we're like, okay, I don't think we were spooked at all.
Mm-mm.
And then something loudly banged.
On like the bridge rail above.
Yeah.
That's when we went up there.
To see what it was. Like,
There was nothing there. And then we met up with those two dudes.
yeah, and then they were telling us about their experiences.
Yeah.
Mm.
Then we went back under the bridge. And it was just, it wasn't nearly as hot. Like it like got cooler then. So like it was an interesting night. That was an interesting night after like many of times that we went up there. And it was just like too active with like a bunch of people up there. Because it became like a hot spot for a bunch of people, and that's when things don't show their presence as much because of all the activity and they get afraid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, there was the spirit Ashley we were able to communicate with. She was a good spirit. She died in a car accident up there in 97. But we were able to communicate with her. But yeah, as more people started showing up, it was harder and harder to get any reads. And I think that's why going there that night with Dustin kind of shocked us, because it had been so quiet. I mean, yes, we've talked about this, another experience kind of close to it, and I'll go in detail later, about the Randy Wilson incident with the ghost truck. I mean, that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just shocked us. So outside of like ghost hunting, any other spooky experiences that you've had?
I mean, I had one when I was like really young, and I was on the property that my parents own. They have like this like hill right in front of the house that we would always like sled on. And our dog Dusty recently passed away. And one night when we were up there just sledding down, we saw like what looked like a spirit of our dog kind of coming from like the trees down below and like running towards us, but then disappeared. And I always thought it was interesting. I mean, it wasn't like frightening or spooky in any way. It was just kind of interesting. And then after that, we went, like that next day, we went down to where we buried Dusty and like kind of said our goodbyes to him. And then we haven't seen him since. That's the best way of saying it. So we had to, I don't know, we needed to say our goodbye.
Yeah. Kind of a, not quite spooky or scary or anything, but more of a comforting type thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one
Like a
thing
final
people get
goodbye.
wrong with is There's good spirits,
Well,
but I think we're
there's plenty of
starting to
good
see that with our
spirits.
interviews. Is more and more people are starting to believe, yeah, there's good spirits too.
Oh yeah.
There is.
Things that go bump in the night aren't always bad. They're just confused why you're living in their house.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had that. I think the Victoria house, there was nothing bad. Her dad might have been a little upset that we were just going around trespassing in his house, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing bad. So outside of ghosts and stuff, Halloween is about monsters and stuff, cryptids and aliens and stuff like this. What are your thoughts about those type of things?
I mean, I've always been big on the whole alien / extraterrestrial kind of side of the cryptids and all that, just because with how far we have come and like all the stuff that we have like invented as I was growing up, and like both you guys as well, but like we saw like computers going from like those weird box things to like the ones that were just like around like this with the like kind of the eye drop look to them, to like laptops, then to flat screen TVs, from like the big projector TVs. There was like microwaves, cell phones, iPods, like all sorts of stuff just happened so rapidly and so quickly, and it's only like increased from that. But I feel like we have been in contact with otherworldly beings for like a long time now, even before all of that too, like even back in the time of like the Egyptians and the Romans and all of that, because those civilizations were so advanced for their time. And even before there's some civilizations which names escape me at the moment, but they had like 100-foot wall, like tall walls with like perfectly cut lines in it that are like evenly straight. Like a lot of the
Well, it's like
world.
Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
You see in it that at one point there was a civilization that was very precise with how it was building it. Everything was very precisely cut. And then something happened because halfway up the wall, they go from being super precise, so precise that like a hair couldn't fit through it,
Yeah.
to the walls are jumbled.
Hmm.
So it's a different style.
Yeah.
Like someone came back and took over. And I mean, that's something people are looking at now is, are the pyramids older than the Egyptians, where the Egyptians just found the pyramids? Was there a more advanced human
very
civilization that built that? Because it's also, again, super precisely built. There's copper in it. No mummy has been found in the Great Pyramid that is 8-sided.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Hey,
It is.
maybe we'll go to Machu Picchu.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'd be kind of down.
Or Giza and go find out some more truth for our own self. So anything in
Gotta
closing?
be careful with stuff like that though.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't built by the Egyptians, then there is a chance that there are things that you will come across that will either send you to another dimension or time or place in space, or you'll just disappear because of governments that are guarding it, because they don't want the truth being revealed. There's a lot of places like that.
But we're truth seekers.
Yeah.
True, but
Is the Smithsonian withholding giant skeletons from us? I want to know.
probably.
I mean, it was in the papers. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, people were finding a bunch of giant skeletons in
18
the
feet
American
tall.
pyramids. And then all of a sudden, they went to the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian has no record.
No records of them.
I say we night at the museum.
We're gonna bring all the displays to life?
Yes. And
Okay.
ask them where the skeletons are. Excuse me, sir.
We're just gonna get Teddy Roosevelt to
Help
tell us
out.
where it is.
Teddy, can you help us find this giant skeleton?
Why, yes, old sap.
Please, sir, may I have some more? More giant skeletons, sir? Alright, so anything in closing you want to say on this fine Halloween evening before we summon you back to go play Red Dead Redemption 2?
Not much than that, but everybody have a wonderful night. Keep your eyes up, because there are plenty of lights to see out there, and they like to hide amongst the clouds and everything else, but like once you start understanding and seeing them, you see a lot more. Like I had an experience up in Keystone that even to this day I'm still questioning if it was just lights on the mountains or if it was something else, but it was very interesting.
I think that's pretty well said.
Yeah. So,
Well
too
said.
sweet to you, sir?
Too sweet. Too sweet.
Alright, we
We
will
summon you back.
Well, that was fun of Sam to join us. Hopefully he has fun playing Red Dead Redemption 2. So, I mean, we've had some pretty good ghost experiences, don't you say?
Yeah, I think this has been pretty exciting the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope Mike's okay.
Yeah, I do too. You know, we've been trying to get him back while we've been doing this, but...
Eventually we have to be able to get him back.
Right? You would think. You think you would just eventually, like, bounce back to him?
I would hope so. But I'm sure we have more guests, and I'm sure wherever he's at, he's fine.
Yeah.
Do you keep
Sure he's
hearing
fine.
that weird bumping noise?
Do things seem different?
A little bit different, yes.
Oh.
Oh, I have a phone call.
Oh!
1 second.
1 second, everybody. He's got a phone call.
Hello? Just doing our Halloween special. Yeah, you got a story to tell us? Alright, why don't you tell us?
I swear something seems different in here.
Alright, so I see your villain shirt. Very cool.
Yes.
And Halloween spirit too. Not too bad.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite shirt.
Yeah. I have to get me a Kenny Omega one or something like that. They got one. It's like Kenny Omega. It's the Omega symbol, and then just says "Change the World."
Right.
I want that one.
Oh, you stupid door.
All right. So I hope this saves. I don't know. Halloween. I guess we'll start off with your traditions or what you grew up doing during Halloween.
Throwing Halloween parties and trick or treating.
All right. Do you have any fun stories about trick or treating growing up?
No, not that I can remember.
Halloween-esque movies that you like. Spooky
Uh,
movies.
I really personally enjoy like the Child's Play and like Chucky type movies, Annabelle, and Creation of Annabelle, or like spiritual movies. Movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Freddy's versus Jason or any of those are okay, but spiritual movies are better.
Okay. So what you're saying is we need to go to somewhere with a bunch of haunted dolls and investigate.
Hell yeah.
All right. No, I think that'd be fun.
I mean, come on, what's not more fun than spirits possessing something?
Right? We should go see, because I know the actual Raggedy Ann Annabelle is in the Warren Museum. We should go there. That'd be fun. It's
That would
planning.
be fun.
Or what about voodoo? What are you up to for voodoo? Like, how do you feel about that?
For voodoo?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never I don't have positive or negative thoughts on it.
But we can go test it out in New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. First of, okay. This is just like my test, so I'm kind of just going through all the questions, and then me and Josh will edit it and make it look like a coherent meeting. So, first off, why don't you introduce yourself? Obviously, people watching Spotty Reception have seen you in our vlogs from Chicago, Vegas, Seattle. But what other things do you do? Obviously, you do photography.
Yeah, so I'm Brenden Carroll. I live up here in Bozeman, Montana, and I do photography amateurly. I've done some things that I've got paid for, but otherwise, I just do it really for fun and for family when they want things done. Otherwise, all I do is spend my time watching sports. If I'm not working, I'm watching ESPN or NFL Network or whatever game is on. It doesn't matter what sport it is. That's all I do.
Yeah. So, growing up, did you hear any like spooky stories as a kid that kind of scared you? It doesn't have to be just ghost related. It can be animals or anything.
No, we never really talked about ghost stories when I grew up. Yeah, so I've never heard any, ghost stories or Halloween type stories at all. So.
Now, do you do any ghost hunting, Brendan? For the audience.
I only have with you.
Only with me.
I did by accident once.
Did you?
But that was not intentional.
Any experiences when you were ghost hunting?
So that's actually kind of how it happened. I was actually staying at my aunt's house, and I got this weird feeling, and I left my cousin's room, and there was a little girl, not much older than 6 years old, standing in the middle of the living room. And then she ran over to their fireplace, and between the fireplace and the end table, there wasn't much more room than that. And she all of a sudden was a full-grown woman with a baby in her hands.
Wow.
It was weird.
Yeah. Did you get any details? Like, could you tell maybe where, what age, she was, or where she came from, time-wise?
If I would have to put a timeline on it, it would probably have to be the early 1900s, just because the outfit that the little girl was wearing is one, kids used to wear nightgowns and stuff in the earlier 1900s or 20th century, I should say. So that's the closest I could put it, probably.
Okay. Now outside, did you feel fear from her, or was it a calm spirit, you think?
I didn't feel anything. So, I mean, if anything, I'd have to say a calm spirit, but because I wasn't scared or anything. She was just, to me, she was just a little girl that was sitting in the little living room, and then next thing she knows, she wasn't.
Interesting. So is this your only experience with supernatural stuff?
Only one that was super clear and super rememberable.
Okay. That is interesting. It's amazing how. Now, where did this happen again? What state?
Montana.
Montana? Okay. See, this is what's interesting. You get all these different experiences from all over the U.S. Colin and I had one in Vegas, or we've had them in New York or Arizona, so it's always fun to hear those. So what are your Halloween plans this year?
I just recently moved into my own apartment, and so I'm going to throw my first Halloween party here at my house.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Brendan. It's been a pleasure. We've known each other for a long time.
Only a few years.
Only a few. Like a person's worth.
Seriously?
Yeah. They can almost drink by now.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, well, we will let you get back to Halloween. Thank you again for joining us on our Spotty Reception Halloween special.
Thank you.
All right, too sweet. So, you had a story to share with us today for our Halloween special?
Well, on the topic of ghosts and such like, my first ghost experience was when I was probably about 4 years old. And at the time, then I probably had no idea what ghosts were or anything. I was at my great-grandparents' house, and my dad and my great-grandfather went down to the basement to do something with the furnace. And I was at the top of the stairs with my mom and watching them go down. And I saw that there was a man lying face down at the bottom of the stairs. And he was wearing this brown suit that was kind of wrinkled, and I was kind of freaked out. Who's this guy, And then my dad and my grandfather just kind of walked through him as though he was water. It was really weird. And I was, as a 4-year-old, well, I mean, really as an adult, who would really process that very well. But certainly I was very freaked out about it and wouldn't stop talking about it for the longest time. But that's one of those things that it has stuck with me all these years. I think that especially small children often witness things that they are told aren't real, or that that can't be, or whatever, and yet it is very real. It's just that they haven't closed their minds to it yet. I know that I have a 4-year-old granddaughter who would be about the same age as I was at that time. And when she was probably about 2, she would be waking up in the night just screaming because she says there were ghosts in her room. Well, who told her about ghosts? I don't have any idea where she learned about ghosts. But then she started to tell her, well, ghosts aren't real, ghosts aren't real. But there are still times when she's kind of like, okay, Grandma, you can go over there because there aren't any ghosts in there. And I think that with small children in particular, their senses are just so open that even when they're told, oh, that's not real, that they still know. And I think that we're all sensitive to some degree. It's often like, everybody can draw, and some people are more talented than others, but if we practice at something, if we are open to it, if we don't just say, oh, I can't draw, and say, oh, I can't,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think with a lot of investigations, it's something we've seen. People have cases where kids.
Okay, did you get any of that? It looked to me like you were just frozen there on the screen.
Yeah, that's where I think when you got to the part, I'm trying to think where we were at, where you were just saying everyone kind of has some openness. But yeah, I was just adding in that with a lot of investigations, a lot of the times the first people to experience something is young children. My thing with that is I think they're more open to it because it hasn't been ingrained in their minds that there is no ghost or something like that. So they're more open to the idea, or more, they just investigate stuff more than just like writing it off.
Yeah, I think that that's true. We live in a kind of a society that says that, well, you have to be logical about this, that ghosts can't possibly exist, but yet there are all these things that happen that really have the explanation is beyond these very narrow parameters. And so often it's when you are in this frame of mind that's it's kind of like the one that if you're just kind of driving around and letting your mind float along, that you are more in a non-logical type of mind. And I think that that's the kind of thing that you're into. And I can recall a time when, and this was when I had not been driving a very long time. And I passed this lady on the road that was in this car. It was a black car, probably from like the late 1940s, early 1950s. And old lady, she could barely look over the steering wheel. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. This was in like, I'm guessing around 1974. And you didn't really see a lot of cars from the 1950 on the road. And, and there was just something even that struck me as being kind of odd. And here it's a road in southern New Mexico that kind of goes down the valley there, the old highway. And there wasn't anything but fields on either side. There wasn't any place where she could turn off. And I looked in my rearview mirror first, no car. I turned around, no car. I actually pulled off the road and checked. There still was no car, no place that I could see that she could have gone. And it's the kind of thing where I just knew that there was something other than just some physical old lady who was driving down the road, passing me. So, but I do think that open state of mind when you're just kind of, when you're relaxed about things or just in your non-logical mind, you're very open to it. Another situation that I had that was one of those that kind of took me by surprise. When I first moved here to Prescott Valley, I needed some furniture for my house. So I went to a used furniture store and was kind of just browsing around. And there was this, in an area with some chairs, there was this rocking chair, and I could kind of see him. I got a little closer, and then there was this old lady in a crocheted hat that was sitting there in the rocking chair. I'm like, okay, somebody's grandma just decided to sit down and rest. I don't know. And I looked away at something else. I looked back at the chair. It was still rocking. There was nobody in it. It wasn't like this lady who could have gotten up and asked me to get out of there.
Yeah, she just didn't speed away. See, with that one, that could be like a residual thing where it's like that imprint in time.
Yeah, something like it with that chair, almost like an impression of that lady in the chair who had sat there for so many years. It was looked like an antique chair, very sturdy, kind of probably oak, had been around for a very long time. But it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, well, that was definitely something that was not easily explainable.
Yeah, I think we've all had, like, at least, especially during this time where we've been doing all the interviews, it's been really interesting just hearing all the different stories and then seeing similarities. And then I think that's what's cool is when you can pinpoint like similarities, you can almost be able to investigate better or like figure out more of what's going on.
Yeah.
No, but I like those are good stories.
So there's, on the subject of small children being much more open to it, I was like a lot of kids where I had an imaginary friend who seemed very real to me, but of course everybody else said he was imaginary. And his name was Jerry, and he was kind of a scrawny looking teenager with kind of wild curly hair, and just kind of one of those all elbows and knees kind of kids, you know. And as time goes on, and these things kind of, you get busy with other things in life, and that fades away. And I didn't really think about Jerry too much. And then later on, when my older daughter was getting to the point where she was talking, and she'd be in there in her little room and playing with her toys and talking, and there wasn't anybody else in there, and I'd just say, "Oh, so who are you talking to?" Just kind of throwing it out there. "Oh, my friend Jerry." Well, okay, well, what does Jerry look like? Oh, and she's like, "Well, duh," right there. But to then drawing her out a little bit, it's like, yeah, this is like the same person that was my so-called imaginary friend many, many years ago.
Yeah, what's the odds of like?
Yeah, the same name. It's not like I had said, "Hey, here's my imaginary friend Jerry," So that's kind of an interesting thing, and most of my ghost type experiences have actually been pretty positive. Of like ordinary people who are, they have, they feel kind of stuck, or they're maybe they have a reason for wanting to be nearby. When my husband Joe died, it was kind of strange because I'd be like, say, putting on my makeup in the bathroom, and I'd hear he'd do this like little whistle when he would come home, and a lot of times he'd like work overnight and then would come home when I was getting ready to go to work, and here he died, but I was in that state of doing something that's not, it's, I don't know, maybe a little less focused or something. And I'd hear that whistle, and my first thought was, "Oh, Joe's home." And then I kind of, as soon as I snapped out of that and went, "But Joe's dead," the sound would stop. Up until that time, it was just like all the normal times when he would have come home whistling that little tune that he did. And so, you have things like that, and there's nothing, it's not like there's anything sinister feeling about it or anything. It's just kind of one of those things that makes you pause. I think I may have told you one time about because I have often shopped at estate sales for things like books and stuff. And see, I've got lots and lots of books. And I had gone to this one, and there was he had been a musician, and he had a number of musical instruments that were all beyond my price range. And then they and also I haven't played very much because I've got pretty bad arthritis. But I did find a box of sheet music that I thought, well, if my grandkids, who were actually either infants or maybe not even born yet, I don't quite remember exactly when this was, but if they're at the point when they want to learn how to play the violin, because I have my instruments and stuff which I've saved because it's something I really, really enjoyed when I could do that, then maybe they would like to have the sheet music to go along with that. So and it's like, and it's not like something that I saw, but much more almost like you have the feeling when somebody's standing really close to you and they're kind of talking into your ear. And this is the feeling that I had, that there was this older man who was just, I was like crouched down to look through the sheet music, and he said to me, well, you know, you need to buy this. This needs to be played. And so I, you know, I was at first kind of like looking around, and then it's like, no, this is the person who has owned this. So anyway, I went ahead and I purchased this box of sheet music at the estate sale, and I thought, okay, that's that. So I took it home, and then this guy just kind of like, it was more like an auditory thing all the time. Well, when are you going to play that music? You know, it's there. It really needs to be played. Like, music is kind of a living thing. You need to do this. I'm like, you know, I can't really play this stuff like I used to be able to play. I'm saving it for my grandkids. You know, he was very persistent, kept after me about it. And finally, I'm like, you know, you're dead. And you've been dead for at least a little while now. And yeah, maybe it's time to move on. This will get played again. You have to let it go. And he kind of faded away after that. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's always interesting to think. I've had like that thought, like, what would I get attached to, like, in the afterlife that, like, someone would buy it, my spirit might be attached to it, you know?
Yeah.
It's something that I think Mark, because there's this bench that my Yaya has at her house. And me and Mark, for the longest time, we're trying to figure out what a spirit might be attached to. And I swear it's this bench. There's something with this bench. Mark has, like, so I mean, that's really interesting. Like, when spirits feel so connected to an object that they can't move on.
Yeah. You know, there was, as far as with something with an object that was negative. Now, this was back when I was, I was a teenager anyway, and I've always loved yard sales and estate sales and stuff like that. Well, I purchased what, you know, and I thought, well, this is an interesting thing. I've seen a lot of old war movies and stuff that look like a German military medal. And I thought, oh, okay. It was like 15 cents or some ridiculously low amount. Well, as soon as I brought that into the house, I mean, it didn't have a good feel to it. It's like sometimes you could just pick up something and it has a vibe that is bad, you know, but I ignored it and I brought it in, and it had such a negativity to it that I didn't really like to handle it, but it was at the same time one of those things with, this has got to be valuable. At the very least, you can get more than 15 cents for it, right? And but while it was in the house, it was like, number one, everybody got really argumentative. It's like it set up this energy where everybody was dissatisfied and they were angry at each other and things like that. The other thing is that you started having sounds, you know, like the sound of something dropping in another room, and you go and investigate and you couldn't find out what it was, or, you know, like thumping sounds and stuff like that. And finally it was kind of like, get rid of the thing, donate it somewhere. Just it was, you could tell that it was something negative, and had brought those negative vibes or whatever it was. It wasn't like I ever saw anything or you know, or heard like a voice to go with it or something like that. But that extreme negativity that came in with it, that it had to go. That whatever it was attached to that, even if it was just bad vibes, not a good thing, not a healthy thing. So, and got rid of it, and it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like it was just a huge weight that was off of our whole house. So that's something that was kind of negative. And now another thing that I felt was very negative one time, we were sitting over in Denny's, like a lot of these things, it's not like they're happening in creepy haunted houses, with bats flying out of the shower or something. This was just an ordinary day. We were there actually kind of early in the day. And we often go there, or the coffee art discount, it's great. And I was just sitting there, and this group of people walked out towards the place where you pay, and then following them there was this like shadow figure. And now I really don't know what shadow figures are, if they are a kind of manifestation of a ghost, or if they're some other kind of being, or whatever they are. But it seemed very tall, like maybe 8 feet tall, and it seemed very malevolent. And I know I'm not the only person who witnessed this, because all around me that there were people where you could just practically see their heads snap up to watch this thing go down the aisle there. And then it's like everybody's kind of like looking away and doing this, because there was something that was very scary about it. And the people were checking out, and then at the point where they were leaving, I didn't see it anymore. And I don't know really what it was, why it seemed to be attached to them, why you would see something like this in broad daylight in a busy restaurant. But it was there, and I'm certain I'm not the only person who witnessed it, even though hey, Scott was sitting right across from me, and he was like, what? He didn't see it. Not everybody saw it, but I'm certain that there were other people at other tables who did, because just from their reaction I could tell. Yeah, very, very strange, very unsettling. But most are nice. I mean, sometimes even animals. We get so attached to them. Here's my kitty. That's a real one. Ow, yeah, she just bit me. When my second grandchild was born, I flew out to Virginia to stay with my daughter there, and she was living in a house that was about 100 years old, and it was one of those places where the first night I woke up and with a sense that people were watching me, and it was really dark in there, and I couldn't really see anything other than shadows, but it was very strange. And it was the kind of also place where if I was there, and I spent a lot of time there because her son was born prematurely, and I was getting things ready for when the baby came home, helping my daughter, so I'd be there when it's very quiet, and they were over at the hospital with the baby, and I'd hear in the other room this whispering and stuff, and then I'd look in, and it was just stopped. So that was kind of strange. So you had this human element, but then I was one night just in the kitchen washing dishes. I had the bottom cabinet open because I was still cleaning pans and then putting them away in the cupboard. And this cat walks through the kitchen and hops into that corner cabinet. And I'm like, what the heck? Where the hell does cat get in? They had a dog who was he just kind of lifted up his head inside, then went back to sleep. But I searched all through that cabinet and tried to figure out where this cat had gone. And then my daughter comes home, and I said, I don't know what to tell you, but there's this cat in your house, and I couldn't find it to get it out. And she's like, no, Mom, it's a ghost. Yep.
So she had seen it too?
Yeah, she had seen it. And as a matter of fact, one night she was out feeding the baby. Later on, when the baby came home, and she's like, because I was just in the other room, how it is. Babies wake you up in the middle of the night, and then you're like, well, okay, I can't get back to sleep. I might as well fold laundry or whatever. And she goes, well, Mom, it's here. The ghost cat sitting here staring at me. Don't know what to do. You feed them or what? But yeah, that was it. Well, okay, you've got to have motivation for, you can see why a ghost would stick around if they wanted revenge, or if they wanted to have their name cleared, or any other sort of thing, have their favorite sheet music played. I don't know. But you kind of wonder about a cat, and it's not like it had the same imprint where it always walked across and hopped into the cabinet and, that was it. But it did different things at different times. So
yeah, where it moves more like an intelligent spirit more than just residual.
Yeah, definitely. And you kind of wonder, well, what is the motivation of a ghost cat? I don't know.
Yeah, see, we've had one encounter. Well, I guess we've had more, but we've had one where we were investigating this house. We actually caught on the EVP like a dog barking. But it was an old abandoned house, and there was no dog there. It was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
It was as clear as day. You could hear it just like barking.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, I mean, nowadays I don't think a lot of people that believe in ghosts even believe in like animals and stuff. Like the Native Americans were really big into like, the animal spirits like keep, they're always around us. And so.
Yeah, I think that we are always surrounded by spirits of all sorts, whether they're, some may be animals, although I think that animals let go better, like we had a dog that we had to have put down back in June, and it's like, because he had been sick for a couple of years before that. It was a real struggle for him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, his struggle is over, and he just let go. And it's not like I ever had any other feeling that he was around after that point. It was just, he went on,
Yeah.
It's not always the case. I had a schnauzer that I was, that I really loved for a number of, we had him for a long time, maybe 10 years or so. And he was an adult when we got him. And he had ongoing health problems and multiple surgeries. And whenever he was feeling really bad, he actually liked to go to the vet, because then he knew he was going to be feeling better. And I think that he didn't move on right away because he thought it was another thing where he went to the vet and they gave him a sedative, and then he would wake up and feel better. But, it's like the kind of thing where you would kind of hear him in his usual thing, or catch him out of the corner of your eye. And for a long time, I'd also dream about him, and I think that that's the dreams are often a really strong connection with this other realm of existence. And then after a while, it's just kind of like he went away too. It's not like he felt like he had a purpose of being there. I just don't think that he recognized for a while that he was not still alive. I think that that's true of some people too. Some people, I think, like when I hear him and stuff, and the other thing is like, stuff would appear, like that he wanted to bring to my attention. Apparently he had bought like little gifts and stuff like that he had just like stuck around and whatever. And they would just, okay, well, things get moved around in my house a whole lot anyway, just with me shuffling stuff around. But then I turn around and like this little thing would be there that I knew that he had purchased. I had never seen it because he had just bought it and stuck it away for, birthday or whatever. And it would just appear. But I think that sometimes we have these spirits who kind of check in with us to make sure we're okay, do what they can do to try to make our lives better. But at the same time, there is a point at which you're like, no, this is freaking me out a little bit when some of this stuff happens, and maybe you shouldn't do that.
Almost like a guardian angel at the same time when you can't see the guardian angel.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, but you're moving stuff around that I'm not really comfortable with this. How about you just let me find it where it is instead of like putting it in this prominent place where I know it wasn't before.
Yeah, because then it would be definitely, you knew you found it, not, hey, how did it get there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, no, these have been great. I'm glad you were able to join us.
Oh, I'm glad I could do it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, you're back.
That was interesting.
Was it?
Yeah, I think we got some good stories for our Halloween special.
Yeah. You're feeling it too, aren't you?
Something seems off. It's almost like a different reality. Like a multiverse.
I've been sitting here fiddling with these YouTube tutorials. I think I might have it this time.
What could go wrong, though? Do you think we could summon, like, demons or anything like that?
We could.
We could.
Well, also death.
Where there's risk, there's reward.
There is.
Alright, here's to not summoning demons.
So here we go. We gotta really feel it this time.
Okay.